My name is David. Hey, this is my friend Mason, and thank you for tuning to my channel, David's Mastermind. Okay, Mason, so here's what we're going to get into today. I'm going to get into discuss these topics: March Madness games, Matt to Indy, Von Miller to Buffalo, Russell Wilson to Denver. Is Georgia going to repeat as national champions? Julio Jones and Indy on a whole nother planet. First of all, I want to say, Mason, as you know, me, you are good buddies. We go back a long way, and I just wanted to say thank you for being on my channel, and I'm glad you are on my channel. So either way, I just wanted to get into everything.
Well, I like to thank you for having me on. It's been a long time coming. I know you like to talk about sports, and I do too, so I'm glad you had me on.
Yeah, and I'm glad to have you, but like I said, we go way back. We go back to 2000 and something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, but either way, we go far. It was back in the day. So first of all, I want to get into March Madness games. So as you know, Mason, Kentucky Wildcats, technically you're a Wildcat. You're supposed to dominate a team called the Peacocks.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Peacocks.
I can't believe they got beat out.
Yeah.
I was out eating when I saw that, and I seen it was a close game, and I said surely Kentucky won't lose to these guys. And by the time I got home, my phone vibrated, and it said they had lost. I couldn't believe it.
I was like, and Oscar Sheway, I'm like, where was he? Well, not he. He can't do it by himself. I'm like, you had him, you had Severe Wheeler, you had whoever else.
I mean, they had plenty of high caliber recruits. There's no excuse for not beating a first round matchup as Kentucky, for sure.
And you lose to a daggone team called the St. Peter Peacocks. This is a team that hasn't done nothing. This is their first time being in the NCAA.
I never even heard of them.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear of them until they went to March Madness. But either way, they got beat. I'm just like, Kentucky, like, y'all ought to be ashamed. Y'all ought to go home and figure out.
Coach Cal should be the one ashamed. Them boys, I mean, there's no excuse to lose. I mean, no excuse. They are over. I mean, every player on both teams, you know Kentucky has an advantage, so that's 20 times the advantage they should have, you know?
Yeah, and you lose to a team called the Peacocks. I still can't understand that. That sounds like a pep squeak team versus that's like Aaron Donald versus
a baby.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, that's like Aaron Donald versus just a pep squeak.
I don't know, man. It just makes you wonder, is Kentucky ever going to do anything with Coach Cal again? Cause I can't remember the last time Kentucky really followed through on any expectations. They always seem to get beat out when they shouldn't.
Yeah, that was largely up to, I mean, Kentucky, they're really supposed to be a national contender, but they at least supposed to went to the Sweet 16.
At least.
I mean, you can't tell me that.
Going into the season, that's an expectation every year for them, should be, and it doesn't ever seem like they live up to that expectation.
Yeah, you're losing to Tennessee twice.
Yeah.
You beat Tennessee, you whoop them so bad the first game, but then the second game you lose.
I mean, just look in conference. They used to dominate, and now they lose to Tennessee, like you say. They lose to Auburn. I mean, they don't. It doesn't seem like they have the same want to that they used to. I don't know.
Back when they had Devin Booker and Carl Anthony Towns, they used to dominate. I remember that was one season they were 38-0.
I mean, when they had Anthony Davis and Boogie Cousins on the same team in college. I mean, and they still couldn't. I don't know.
Kentucky is
they always flop.
Yeah, there's different words like you can say that team is bad, which means they look like they gonna dominate everybody, but then you have bad where they just got exposed really bad to St. Peter's team. So either way, I just wanted to say that's one of the worst. That's a disappointment to the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah, that is a disappointment, especially for Wildcat fans that pride themselves so much on basketball.
Yeah, I mean, come on now. You lose to a team, but you wonder why Lamar Jackson went to Nova and won the Heisman Trophy. Y'all ain't got no Heisman Trophy winners in football, but that's a whole nother story. Way they probably never have a Heisman Trophy winner in football. But anyway, Kentucky, that was just a huge disappointment. Is all I'm gonna say.
Anybody else disappointed you so far?
Well, of course, this team you gonna be like, well, I mean, Auburn Tigers.
I can't believe they lost already.
And when I'm talking about Kentucky lost by 6 points, but when I saw Auburn, they got crushed by Miami. I mean, Miami just knocked them out of the ball.
Well, it's funny you say that because now Kentucky's got beat out,
Yeah.
Auburn got beat out, and Tennessee got beat out. Those are the best 3 teams in the SEC this year, all right?
Yeah.
And they talked about at the beginning of the year, I remember this was a down year for the ACC, that their teams were struggling. But now you got Duke, North Carolina, Miami. How many more? I mean, there's probably a few more.
Yeah, I know some other team higher than that don't want to come out and say, don't want to come out in their brains, but either way, yeah. I mean, Tennessee, I can understand them losing to Michigan because Michigan got Joe.
They're respectable. That's a respectable program for sure.
Yeah, so I'll give Tennessee a pass. I'll give Tennessee a pass, but I'm not going to get Auburn a pass.
But the SEC as a whole has just struggled.
Oh, yeah. The only team that's living is Arkansas now. That's the only team that, I mean, everybody else is dead. They didn't rest in peace, which means they didn't went back home. They died. But either way, like, Auburn was such a huge disappointment. I mean, you lose to Miami. And I ain't trying to say nothing about Miami, but I'm just like, Alabama beat Miami in football. Alabama actually beat Miami in basketball earlier in the year because I remember it was like, I forgot.
I mean, Miami, I don't remember them ever being particularly great in basketball. They're usually middle of the pack in the ACC.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that's what it says about the ACC, that if you can have a team like Miami beating out Auburn, ACC, you know how SEC is always the best in football.
Yeah.
They have to be the best in basketball.
Oh, yeah. But I just like Auburn, like, and then Jamar Smith got dunked on after he dunked on somebody. He got dunked on.
Just embarrassing to lose and get dunked on.
Yeah, I mean, Auburn just looked bad as a whole. They look bad as a whole unit.
Hey, that ain't too bad for us Bulldogs, though, is it?
Yeah.
We don't mind Auburn looking bad.
Yeah. I mean, well, none of they guards to me are that good. The only 2 people that are good is Walker Kessler and Jabari Smith.
Do you think that they'll translate to the NBA? You think they're that good?
I think Jabari Smith is not Walker Kessler. You know, he's a sophomore. He's gonna have one. Well, Jabari Smith is one of them dudes. He like, you know, he was once he was Donald South American. But I feel like he needs to stay for like 2 more years.
Yeah.
And he'll be pretty good. But Walker Kessler, I mean, he's the best shot blocker in America, even though, I mean, he's probably worth Defensive Player of the Year with 150 blocks. But either way, yeah, Auburn's probably not going to do nothing. I don't see none of them. I mean, they've been one of the worst basketball teams from losing to Miami.
Do they return anybody next year, you know of?
Well, I know they return.
Kessler?
Probably Kessler. Jabari Smith, we'll see what he does, but he likes, you know how these NBA players do these days. You know, they go to high school, do that,
so
then they want to go for 1 year in college, and then they want to transfer to the NBA. I mean, go to the NBA or go to the NBA G League, and then go to the NBA. And I'm just like, what are y'all doing?
You know, the past few years, Auburn's really transformed into kind of a basketball school. Yeah. Bruce Pearl's got them back on the map, you know, and this year was the first year I feel like last year they took a step forward and they were, you know, teetering on the brink of being a national power team. But this year I think they really took a step and showed everybody that they weren't nothing to play with. But it makes you wonder after an early exit like this, you know, will they build on this confidence even if they lose some players? Do you think this was their best chance, or do you think they'll have another chance with Bruce Pearl as a coach? I
feel like Bruce Pearl's a good coach, and I felt like they're still pretty good. And I feel like they just need to bring all their players back, because I feel like, and I know that some people won't be like, well, this really ain't gonna make sense, but I noticed the year before Auburn was good in the regular season, but then they had it where they lost in the first round to the tournament, like against Texas A&M and Alabama, of course. Then they win it the first round against a team, but then in the second round they lose to an AC team just like they did a few years ago, and then they did it to Miami. And then I'm like, I wonder if next year they're going to have it where they just automatically make another Final Four run. Because, you know, they had it where they didn't have a good regular season, but then they had won the conference tournament, and then they went to the Final Four.
You think they get too confident in their regular season performance and don't keep their edge going into the tournament? Yeah, but and I just feel like, I just noticed this, not that this is what happened, but I'm like, well, Auburn next year where they would probably just shock us on suddenly make it to a Final Four run. But like Georgia, they finally get fed up with choking and maybe put something together.
Oh yeah, Georgia definitely
keep their focus.
Basketball, yeah, that's one of the worst. And then Baylor and UNC play. At least Baylor,
that's a good matchup.
Even though Baylor lost in the second round, I ain't mad at it with Baylor because they lost that Jonathan Tamachoa, whatever his name is. I mean, these are hard people
Oh,
hard names to pronounce. So I'll try to best. I'll just call him JT.
You can't fault yourself for that, for not being able to pronounce that.
Oh yeah, but either way, he was out. This other dude was out. So Baylor, at least, I'll give him a pass. And they almost came back, got North Carolina, but North Carolina showed that even without Roy Williams as their head coach that was there for 17 seasons, they showed that they're still a pretty good program.
I think so too.
Program, and now they got to play UCLA.
I was worried about North Carolina this season. You know, middle of the year, they weren't looking that great. They weren't. I mean, they didn't look bad. You know, they still were a pretty decent seed in the tournament, but they weren't being typical North Carolina and just being a national powerhouse. And I really didn't know about them, but in Coach K's final home game when they beat Duke, they stamped it on Duke pretty good. I think that was a real telling point. And it gave me a lot of confidence with North Carolina going into the tournament. I believe I had them in my bracket going to the Final Four just after seeing that game, because I think that was a confidence builder for them.
Oh yeah, that was good. Yeah, I feel like they'll always be a good program. I don't know if they're better than Duke. Duke, you know,
I think
the best program is UCLA of all people.
Oh yeah, they have the most championships, but
11.
It's been a long time since they've done something.
Yeah, but they did go to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Last year, I mean, they beat Alabama, which I was so glad when they did beat them. But they beat them. They beat Michigan. They beat it. They went that guard Johnny Juice. He's a bad dude, and whoever else on that team.
Yeah.
So I think UCLA, North Carolina, they're like sleepers that everybody forgets about them.
So who do you think will make a push and end up coming out? Who do you think who'll make the Final Four now that we're down to 16? I mean,
now that's still probably too early to decide. But we all know Kansas look good. Duke
Kansas always looks good. Duke's hit or miss this year, it seems.
And I don't know. I feel like Texas Tech has a chance to beat them.
I don't know. Duke's always hit or miss, it seems like. I remember years where they got hot and they beat everybody by a lot, and then I remember years that some nights they could beat anybody, and then other nights they were terrible. And this year they've been pretty good all year, but I'm nervous, like you say. I've always been kind of, I don't know, not really a fan of Duke, but I pulled for him because I like Coach K. I like any kind of respectable, long-term coach. Anybody that has that kind of success is somebody to be, looked up to for sure. And I don't know that they'll do it this year in this final year.
I don't think it. I think even if this is final year, they're going to try to do the best they can to reach that national championship and deliver Coach K his 6th national championship.
It'll be interesting to see Duke without Coach K. I can't imagine that. You and I have never seen Duke without Coach K.
Oh, yeah, but then it's like, it's getting to that point, where Coach being there since 19-something, whatever, it seems like, okay, well, you can't live without him, but you got to move on because, you have it where of course, you were the head coach at 30, but now you're 99 years old. And
I'm sure the Patriots would have liked to keep Tom Brady as their quarterback forever too, but you just can't keep people forever.
You can't keep people forever.
People get old, people got other interests, and that's the fact of life.
Oh yeah, you live, you do whatever you got to do. You go to zero, you start boring. I'm not going into the story of that, but you do that. You live your life, and like God says, He calls you home.
And Coach K, after this year, I just don't know what Duke's going to look like.
I don't know, but I think they'll be pretty good. I think they'll be okay.
Oh yeah, they'll always be okay. They got the Duke name, and surely they've got somebody in mind. I can't imagine the Duke Blue Devils not knowing who they're going to replace Coach K with right now.
Now, I did hear something about that. I think that's going to be the assistant coach.
I would say so too.
It was like how Hubert Davis was with North Carolina. But it's also, I feel like most time when you have a player who's played for that alumni and then they become the coach, I feel like they have good success.
Yeah, I feel like when you have a program like Duke or North Carolina, and a coach is not fired, they've had a successful program, and things go out smoothly. You go out and it's not on a down. It's kind of hard not to hire somebody that's been a part of that success for all those years.
Oh yeah.
Where's the first place I'd look always would be within, and when you've had that much success, you probably got a candidate that's qualified.
Yeah, and then they might have it where they might look down, but then they teams seem to shock you. Like North Carolina, they didn't shock me. At first they looked like a garbage team, They look like a team that hasn't made it into the NCAA tournament at forever, or they look like just one of them small schools, you know, like a team you just ain't never heard of. But then North Carolina comes back and they literally have first year head coach Hubert Davis, and they take them to the Sweet 16 and beat Baylor. So it's kind of like, so it's like the digest, but I think Duke will still be a pretty good team.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we all know. So next up, I want to get, Matt Ryan. He's a good quarterback for the Falcons. He was a good quarterback with the Falcons. I mean, some folks might say, but he did a good job at first. Now his league's last few years were down for him.
Like they said, he was the epitome of a franchise quarterback. He was a valuable piece for the Falcons for 14 seasons, and I mean that tells you enough about him right there. He must have at least done his job for pretty well. They kept him for 14 seasons, and when a quarterback, that's usually the first thing you go looking for when you have failure.
Yeah, so either way, that happens. But either way, Matt goes to Indy. The Falcons, I mean, they really should not be called the Atlanta Falcons. They should be called the Atlanta Idiots. Now, that's probably an insult to Falcons fans.
Yeah.
That's a huge insult. But either way, they should be called that. For one, the reason why they should be called that is because Matt Ryan goes to Indy. Indy's already a playoff team. We all know they just need the quarterback because Carson Wentz won the deal. He really hasn't been the deal for nobody
for a while, yeah.
And to his rookie year when he played for Philadelphia, even though he didn't take him to the Super Bowl, it was Nick Foles that took him to the Super Bowl because he was hurt, and he always seems to get hurt in the playoffs, or he just seems to play horrible like he always does. But either way, Matt goes to Indy. I mean, I feel like that's good for them. But they can get a quarterback who hasn't played in the game for 3 years. Mm-hmm. That's Marcus Mariota. He was good when he played for Oregon. That was college, though. Oregon's been they're a good football program. Either way, he goes to the NFL. He plays with the Titans for a few years. Of course, Arthur Smith, he was the offensive coordinator, but he more so relied on the running game. But when Marcus Mariota was a quarterback, he did okay. But then he had one time where the Tennessee Titans just looked horrible too. And then they got rid of him, got Ryan Tannehill. Mm-hmm. Ryan Tannehill takes him to the AFC Championship. Ryan Tannehill really hasn't been good this last year. He was good the other 2 years, but he really wasn't that great last year. But either way, it's like, and I noticed this, ever since Ryan Tannehill took the job, Derrick Henry was a beast.
Oh, yeah.
But when Marcus Mariota was playing, Derrick Henry, it was like, of course, you can't just blame it because Derrick Henry really was, I think him and Marcus Mariota were there for like 2 years or 2 or 3 years before Marcus Mariota.
He hadn't really got the groove yet, maybe.
Yeah, but when Ryan Tannehill came, Derrick Henry was looking like a beast. He looked like one of the dudes I don't even want to tackle Derrick Henry. Oh, and the man can literally squat 1,000 pounds, and I'm just
it's truly amazing what he can do.
Oh yeah, and this how big he is, his large stature, and all that stuff. He's just so big. He's 6'4", 250. I mean, that's all he looks built more like a linebacker in a way.
Oh yeah.
But he looked like he can hit.
He's built like a beast. He ain't built like a normal man.
Yeah, that ain't normal.
Even for an NFL player, that's not normal.
That's very rare in the history of society.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is very rare. But either way, Marcus Mariota, of course, he played for the Titans.
You don't think he's going to be a replacement for Matt Ryan, though?
No, and then the Falcons already suck anyway. I mean, he's definitely probably even more horrible. I feel like at least Matt had his 4,000 yard, 40 touchdown seasons every year.
I mean,
and that's pretty decent for a quarterback.
So what do you think the Falcons are going to do? I mean, they only got a third-round pick from Matt Ryan, and I think that was mostly due to the wanting to clear the cap space. But what's the point of having cap space if you don't have a quarterback and you don't sign? I mean, are they going to get anybody else? Or are we going to play with Marcus? What?
You know what I want to say, Mason? I just want to go. They ain't doing nothing. They just do some dumb stuff. I felt like if you were going to get a quarterback, why is it like, let's say a Colts quarterback that came over here or whatever, and then, because usually that's how they switch it, where you have, where this team exchanges this person for that person. But
we have the number 8 pick. I mean, do you think they'll take a quarterback with that?
They ain't going to take no quarterback. You know how the Falcons do, Mason.
You don't think they'll take Malik Willis?
Yeah, they could, but they should have been to.
Well, see, that's how I feel too. I don't think the Falcons will pull the trigger on the quarterback either. But I don't think there's there's not a quarterback in this draft to me that's a sure thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Malik Willis. He played at Liberty. He has a lot of potential, like Trey Lance. But has Trey Lance played yet? No.
Well, he did play 2 games.
Yeah, but he hasn't started yet. He hasn't taken over. So, do the Falcons? Do they have the time like the 49ers to let him sit and develop? I mean,
well, no, because the 49ers they got rid. Well, not Jimmy Garoppolo. I think they were gonna have him, but he was kind of like nah. But either way, when you look at it, the 49ers, they're a Super Bowl team.
yes, and the Falcons are not, and that's just the bottom line.
Yeah, the 49ers here.
The Falcons
are down.
They have a total rebuild on their hands. I don't know what they're gonna do.
What happened?